This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Oh, isn't that hair fabulous? Broadcasting live from the new hotspot on Fort Myers Beach, Wahoo Willie's. It's time for another exciting award-winning episode of Beach Talk Radio. Here are your humble hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And welcome to Wahoo Willie's, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching. We are broadcasting live from Wahoo Willie's special show today with a presentation from the management and ownership of the Pink Shell. Before we get to that, I want to remind everybody that Tuesday is the 4th of July, in case you didn't know that. And we're going to have a nice little musical party over at La Ola's in Times Square with D-Rock, Stephen Clark, and High Tide starting at 12 o'clock. And we hope you bring a case of water for the folks at FMB Strong down at 820 Buttonwood. They're a little short on water, so we're collecting water for them. And then on the 5th of July, which is the day after the 4th of July, Wednesday, we will be cleaning up the beach. So we'll have clear plastic bags and gloves for folks to clean up the beach on Wednesday. And
I just want to give a shout out to Lover's Key. I went down there earlier this week and kayaked down there, and it was nice. They're open, they're ready to have people. The kayaking was great. Wear your sunscreen and bring your water. But
and how nice of it was of the folks down there, because you were the first person to rent a kayak in 273 days. And
it was so coincidental. I mean, I just happened to go down there, and as I walked up, he started playing this clapping, like your clapping thing. And I was like, what? And they're like, you're actually the first person. And like that.
There you go.
And he had a friend of his that he wanted to come down, and so thought she was going to be first, and then I saw her out on the water, and she was giving me the evil eye.
Yeah.
So,
and we also want to say thank you to the folks at we went out to dinner last night, right there
at Coconut Jack's.
The Coconut Jack. So if you're looking for a place to go a little bit off the island, they're wonderful down there, right on the island, and we appreciate everybody down there and what they did for us last night.
The end of Bonita Beach Road.
Right. Now, folks, if you're watching today on Facebook, you're going to see Bob is going to pop up in the box, so you'll be able to see him. If you're here in the audience and you need to see Bob, you have to pull it up on your phone. You'll be able to hear him fine, but you might be wondering why you don't see somebody, like nobody here is talking. It's because Bob is on the screen talking. Bill Wachulis from the Pink Shell. The official title is General Manager, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cabana Boy.
Cabana Boy. I've never heard that one before.
Boy.
So how do you want to start the whole thing? And folks, also there's a couple of poster boards here. If you're in the audience, you want to see what the planned development is for the Pink Shell, you can come over and see the poster board and some information there. But how do you want to start it before we get to any of the questions you just laid out here?
I think maybe Bob maybe given a little history of when he bought the Pink Shell and kind of the history of it, and then I can go into the presentation.
All right, Bob, you're up. I think we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
All right, guys. Thanks for inviting us to be on. We're excited about this opportunity to talk to everybody. So the history we have at the Pink Shell goes back to 1998. The company I ran at that time was a public REIT, and we bought the hotel in 98. And it was obviously very different than what it is today. We had 47 beach cottages, a couple of motel-style buildings, and the only building that still exists is the Sanibel View, which is at the far the north end of the island, and everything else is changed over time. So I think the takeaway that I want to leave here is, look at what it was, look at what we brought it to, and it's going to have things change. We got to keep moving forward. The island has been hobbled, and it takes developers to come in with a vision. Now, everybody's going to have their opinion about the vision, but you need this creative process to bring the island back. And so there's lots of there's many developers on the island now looking around. People who want to go back to the 70s, it's just not going to happen. It just can't happen. So we want to look at what we're doing and say, how do we restore the tax base to this town? How do we create a place where, in our world, it's about making memories with people? And so that's our goal and our vision. What we've drawn here is a starting point. It's clearly not going to, in the end, I suspect, look like this. It'll evolve, and there's a lot to do. But that's kind of where we are today. And we were really having a great success at the Pink Shell for what part of the year we got in until October 28th, and then of course no one ever thought we'd see something like what came. And, but now we go.
Bobby, before we get to the evolution of the building, I know we have a PowerPoint presentation. Again, you guys might need to watch on your phone if you're here in the audience, but I'm going to drop you out of the box for a few minutes and let Bill take over here and take us through this presentation so we can kind of see what's going on. Obviously, that's the cover sheet, so we don't need to explain that, right, Bill? Oh, wait, I'm going to turn your mic up, too, because that would probably help. All right, so
we can go to the next slide.
There you go.
So this is kind of this is a survey of the Pink Shell, just to give you an idea. The property is a little over 11 acres. All the colors you see there, the pink, the green, the blue, and then that looks like an orange. So are all the areas of the Pink Shell.
Okay.
We can go to the next slide.
Well, is that
Sure.
the broken house there? Is that the house that just sits there?
Yeah.
That's in between the green and the.
That's exactly where it's at.
Who
So,
is there any progress on that house coming down or that house being sold or anything?
I don't believe he's looking to sell it. I think he's hasn't decided what he's going to do with the property. He did fence it, which made us feel a lot better from a safety standpoint, because we got a lot of kids running around the resort now.
Did you have a question, dear?
Well, I just wanted to point out, can you go back one? So the blue is the building, and then the green is the parking lot across the street.
Correct. So,
And then that pink to the left is the parking lot on the other side.
Of the other side of
of
that
that
broken
home.
house.
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
And then also on Gulf Shore Court, we used to have a workforce housing there on the
On the
orange.
right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we're still looking for those houses.
So the only building now that's in that green parking lot is the ship to shore. Is that
The
ship
Marina
store?
building.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Next slide.
So this is just a depiction of the master concept plan with the parking garage, the workforce housing, just to give you an idea where it places on the map. We can go to the.
Okay, well, before we jump ahead, the building that we're talking about is going to be a 4-story parking garage on top or below a 4-story condo building. That's what the plan is.
It's ground level parking and then 3 parking, so 4 total, and then 4 levels of units.
4 levels of condo units. How many total units?
109.
109. That
Yep.
would be part of the Pink Shell. Explain
Development.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
it'd be part of the resort. The 109 would be part of the resort. Also in the application, off to the right there, where the workforce housing used to be, is we want to go 4 stories up and put additional workforce housing in that spot. We had about 15 employees we had in workforce housing. This going 4 stories over the grade would give us the ability to do 48 beds for 48 employees.
So,
And that's the little square to the right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
so to the left, if you're looking at it, or no?
No, to the right if we're looking at it. Right
Yeah.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
right here. I was looking at
Yeah.
that. Sorry. So the parking garage will have 4 stories, ground level, 3 stories. How many total spots?
518 parking spots.
And how many open to the public?
A little over 200.
200 public spots. At how much do you guys plan on charging per spot?
Well, that's to be determined. Our thought was, I think the town is $5 an hour. The Bowditch is $2 an hour. It'll be in that range.
But it won't be free.
No, it will
Okay.
not. It'll be a by charge. Yes.
Okay. So next slide is an aerial view.
Yeah, it's just taking an aerial view, just so you get an idea of the full blown pink shell and the 11 acres.
Okay.
And so in the parking garage, are you going to have, like in this picture, you see cars on one side and then cars on the other? Is it going to be just one row? Do you know what I'm saying? One facing the bay, one facing the pink shell?
In the parking garage?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's exactly that.
Okay.
Is how it ends up
Because
being.
looking at the space, I was like, yeah, you got to have room to drive in and out. So it'll just be those, and 500, huh?
518 is what
Wow.
it would. So it takes care of the 140 that we have there right now, just on the surface.
Mhm.
And then the 200 plus spots for the public. And then you'd have the 109 units, the 1.5 ratio for that.
And Bob, I don't know if you noticed, I popped you on the screen and turned your mic on. So if there is something that you wanted to add as we go along, feel free.
Sure. Well, the one thing I would add is that we were working on, Bill and I had identified, the problems of the island that we thought were in need of an answer. And it was workforce housing and traffic / parking. So we had been giving this a lot of thought before the hurricane. And then, of course, after Ian, we kind of parked it because Lord knows how long it would take to get back. But I have supreme confidence that Fort Myers Beach is going to be busy again. And the traffic, what would happen is, and it really got exacerbated when Margaritaville took over the parking that was on their property and used it to build what they're building. And so now you have cars driving up and down the island.
Can you explain what you mean by that? They took over what?
Go ahead.
If you want to go further on the slides, we can go.
Yes, you can control your microphone.
Sorry. So I want to make sure I heard you correctly. So the idea for this was you were thinking about it before the storm or in after?
Before we're having conversations with the town and the council just to see if what the feeling was on a parking garage, because
about the parking garage and the condos, or just the parking garage?
The parking garage and the condos. When you look at a parking garage, the cost is roughly $40,000 to $50,000 a parking spot. So when you look at the cost of, because you got to put an elevator in, an elevator is $250 to $350, just the mere cost of per spot, you got to have, nobody will build just a parking garage because it's just, you could find better ways to use your money. You got to have the condo units on top of it. And the same with the workforce housing. I mean, we're not going to make money on the workforce housing, right? It's actually a net loss every year to have the workforce housing. So because of the new building. But
from the workforce housing, how many total units are they?
It's 16 units, 3-bedroom units, 48 beds. Each bedroom has its own bathroom and then a shared
so of
kitchen.
The 48, how many will be for your employees?
We were only using 15 to 20. The rest we would make open to the public.
Gotcha. Okay, let's go through the presentation again. How many? Let's see. Go to slide 4. Go ahead.
So
Bill.
yeah, so where Bob was talking about just but the public parking spots that we had at the Helmrich Plaza before was about 150 plus. Obviously, when the construction began for Margaritaville, those public parking spots were no longer available. And what we saw on the beach is people driving up and down between, it's kind of parking's like Lani Kai to Bowditch, driving back and forth trying to find a spot. And we had to put additional security guards down just to keep people out of our lots. And people just willing to pay significant money because they were just frustrated with going up and down, which caused more traffic
but
up
to
and
be
down the
fair,
island.
that was always a case. That was always the case on the beach. Whether
I mean,
for years and years and years, even before that development, there was always people were always coming, trying to find places to park.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it just exacerbated when the 150 spots weren't available to the public. That you could see it even worse. But yeah, parking is just a challenge on the island. There's no doubt about that.
We probably accepted that as the way it was going to be, but this 150, the loss of this 150 spots really kind of made us think we got to do something, and that's when we started talking to the town.
Are you?
So,
Go ahead. Yeah.
do you envision those parking spots that are available to the public, that those folks then are going to just go through the public accesses down by you guys?
No, I think what you'd see is I think you'd have three options when people park in that public parking lot. One, it's 350 feet to Bowditch. You have and if you don't mind going to the next slide, you can kind of. So Bowditch is 350 feet from the Pink Shell parking lot that this was proposed. You have 17 acres there at Bowditch and only 64 public parking spots. So, I mean, you have a vast area that's underutilized. And we've all experienced. I mean, Lynn Hall Park. I don't know how many more people you could put down in that area. So, option one is from the walk to Bowditch. Second, they could just jump on the trolley and travel up and down the beach, getting the cars off of the road. Or option three, it's less than a half a mile from the garage to walk down to Times Square. So if people are coming to Times Square or the Margaritaville or whatnot, I mean, they have the ability to utilize this parking garage.
It's a bit of a.
It is.
I walked it. Yeah, I walked
ran
it
today, and it was. It seems like. Did you say it was a half a mile?
It's point. When I walked it from Lynn Hall, it was 0.6, but it is a lot to
if you got to lug your
to
stuff
carry
down,
your
too.
stuff. Yeah. So you were saying that it would be the trolley that they would take down the trolley, not something that you guys have like a.
No, I mean the trolley. Obviously, there's a trolley stop right there at Bowditch. There's a trolley stop right in front of the Pink Shell. The guest of the park could utilize.
And there's beach access to the right and the left of the Pink Shell. So, it works in that regard. We also think the water taxi is a fabulous idea, and we would provide a, off and on spot for that.
And Holly makes a good point that you're making it sound like workforce housing, but it really is employee housing. It's employee housing for you and a few, the other hotels is really what it is. It's not really workforce housing, right?
Well,
or is it? It's employee. I guess that's the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's workforce housing, employee housing. I think it's the same definition.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. All right. So
I mean, when you look at it, we were charging, $150 a week for the employees.
I was talking to one of your employees about that. That's pretty damn good to live on the beach. I mean,
do you think it would stay like that then?
Well, I don't think it'll be much more than that. I think it'll be in that 200 range. I think we modeled this out at $200 a week for the units. I could tell you those employees were never late to work.
Now,
right.
would you benefit from any of the incentives? Because you were saying that it wouldn't really turn a profit. Would you benefit from any of the incentives that are coming, July 1st? Because
to be determined. I don't think so. Just when you look at, there's a threshold of salary that employees have to make in order to get those grants, and it can't be more than $43,000 a year. A lot of the workforce housing we saw were food and beverage staff, which make more than that, and we wouldn't qualify for the grant. So we're still looking at it, but I don't know that what with what we pay, and I think the other businesses on the beach pay. I think that we won't hit that 43,000.
So here's a picture of what you plan to propose to the town.
Yeah, so this would be a view from the south end of the property. That space is about 2 acres of land, and you can off to the left-hand side you can see the workforce housing building, which would be 4 stories. So this building is 7 stories. Again, it's ground level plus 3 parking, and then 4 units, 4 floors of units.
I heard that back before this council, when you guys were pitching it to the previous council before the storm, that one of the council members said, "Don't make it look like a parking garage."
Yeah, that was we got the initial feedback from them. They wanted, obviously, don't make it look like a parking garage. what is the density you're going to ask for, which, at that time we did no idea. We had to run the numbers. And how many parking spaces would be available to the public. So those are the things that we were working on. Unfortunately, Ian delayed that.
Now, I don't know if anybody reads the comments on our Facebook page, Bob, but the building was pretty much called Butt Ugly.
Well, and people could say that about lots of things, I guess. We hired this company called FinFrock, and all they do is parking structures and buildings like this. It's a tough assignment working on a site this tight, but listen, when we go through this process, people are going to make comments. They're going to say, why don't you do this or that? And we're going to respond to that because we're not married to this particular look. We had to put a image out there. I mean, this is the way the development process unfolds. You come up with a graphic like this to show to the town. As far as the interior of this, what is in the units, where's a bathroom, none of that's been figured out. So, this is the important step of saying, all right, what are you willing to accept on the island? And then we can, we're not married to the look of this any more than anything else. So we'll change it as it makes sense. But it's a very tough assignment on this narrow sliver of land.
I think when you look at it just on the fact of the parking garage, you got to have a couple things for a parking garage. You got to have, one is the land to be able to do it. Second, you got to have to where the public can actually access out of it. I mean, and third is the height. I mean, when you look at down at the Pink Shell, this building is about 96 feet tall. The average of our buildings down there are about 92. So, obviously height is an issue when it comes to, are you going to block somebody's view? Mm-hmm. Down here, it's only all of our units face the other way, and this would be right in front of our buildings.
All right, let's go to Derek. You control your own microphone.
What about the view to the bay? Because that's going to be blocked from Estero Boulevard.
Yes, that would be. You're correct. That would be as you drive down. One of the things that we're proposing, obviously, is to build a boardwalk that goes all the way around the building along the water. So you could come off the sidewalk if you're walking or running and walk along the water around the building.
Bob, what about the view corridor? I mean, back when, in I don't know what year this. 1999. One of the conditions was the document will contain language that assures the view corridor will be maintained in perpetuity.
Sure. And if that's the hard line that this town wants to take, then this will be a short interview because we can only work with what we've got. But I can say this, the loss of real estate on the island, you have to ask yourself, okay, so where are my taxes going? And where's the tax base? And so some compromises seem logical to us. And that means let's cluster up some of these activities where they minimize the impacts to the island. And so I think putting this at the Pink Shell, it's the best of some compromises. And so that's kind of just how we had to look at it. But we recognize that we don't have the rights to build this. This is going to have to be something that the town says all the public benefit that we articulated in our application is worth making some compromises.
Okay, before we get to the public benefit chat, you want to finish the slides?
Sure.
Bill?
So this is just the workforce housing, or Kim was mentioning where that lot was. So it's 4 stories over grade. It's about 62 feet.
Those are all the details. And
yeah,
I have, if anyone wants a copy of the PDF, I have it. I can easily email it to you after the show or tomorrow. All the details are in there. I'm sure this presentation is part of the application in
Correct.
some way. There's
nothing that's not already public.
right. If you want to go through all that information, there you go. So, all right, let's get rid of the presentation and ask some. Go ahead, dear.
I just, so the walkway, is that the walkway, that the boardwalk that you were talking about, that's the interpretive walkway that was in the original plan, the original approval?
Correct. It's actually expanded down the full length of this land. But yes, that would and it would
So that
continue
means
around.
that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, Bob, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, Bob, one of the things back again in the original plan was that you transferred the density that you had on the bay side to the beach side so you can build a bigger building. You really have zero density on the bay side to build anything. So how do you overcome that?
With a list of public benefits, I think, Ed. I mean, if somebody else has a better idea to solve traffic and workforce housing, bring it on. This is our attempt at saying we're at least bringing a solution.
No, I hear you about the traffic and the workforce housing, but for your specific proposal, you have zero density. So, I mean, what's the public benefit that you think that the LPA and the council will move forward with? Can you go into that?
Well, sure. So in our application, we put forth, I think it's 13, Bill.
Ed, if you just go back one, I'm sorry, in the slides, there's just a list of the public benefits there. And we've got a board also here for those that are in the public if they want to see.
Which number was it?
Two more back. One more forward. There we go.
All right.
That's the start of it.
All right. So you got Bob. Why don't you go ahead and we'll take one at a time.
So we were trying to get to where we had a place where we could bring more public parking back to the island. So this gets us, 200, 210, something in that zone. The town wants to have a sponsored parking system, which is a great idea, where you have an app on your phone, and by agreeing to tie into that system, people can look at the phone and say, okay, I see there's 20 spots open at the Pink Shell, or there's one spot open at Lynn Hall, or wherever, people tie into it. So that helps, manage the traffic. The workforce housing is a problem for every hotelier on the island. So whether it's the Best Western or Edison or, Margaritaville, anybody, and, this is a real cost to provide because it doesn't make any money. It loses money for us every year, but we get that it's needed on the island. So that's truly a public benefit. The boardwalk is replacing the interpretive walkway, which really was a road to nowhere, but it I think will be better as an amenity the way we're articulating it here than the way it used to be. And then we'll replace the pier. We bought a cottage adjacent to our property going south, and that house had a dock which got wiped out in the storm. But we'll replace that, and we would engineer it to accommodate. We don't yet know what the water taxi thing's really going to be all about, but we would engineer that to receive the transports to take people on and off the water, and also use it as a public fishing pier. As the Royal Palms that went up and down Estero Boulevard got all wiped out. So we would put those back and maintain it at our expense. I need a next slide, I think, Ed.
Yep. Yeah, I'll move it. There you go.
I could jump in a little bit too, Bob. We offered to the sheriff's office. They need the space for an office and somewhere, a bathroom, giving them a space. They obviously want to be above flood. We offered this to them. If it didn't work for them, it might be another public entity that would want to use it. The other big is, we saw it after Ian, with the surge, all the vehicles that were lost. So having the ability to get in an evacuation and put the vehicles in the garage and above flood, I think would be a plus for the town or
Well, I think if we have the hurricane, we would throw.
Go ahead, Bob. You want to?
We'd throw the gates open and let the town in first, and then emergency vehicles, and then let citizens come and just get their car on high ground.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing was electrical vehicle charging stations. There's a shortage of them on the island. This is an opportunity to manage that facility, to the benefit of people with electric cars. And in the same vein, electric scooters, e-bikes, golf carts. We're thinking about that now as a future means of transport around the island. The water taxi we talked about, and then we were the first, were we not? 4 Palm designated lodging property.
Yeah, we're the only one in the area with the state recognized. Obviously, we would continue that program. There's only 11 resorts in the whole state of Florida that actually meet that requirement. And then the other is when we fully are 100%. Right now, we're about 60% operational. When we're at 100%, we'll be 100% turtle compliant.
But back to your Ed, your question on the density and the zoning rights. You have to say to yourself, where on the island can I find 2 acres of land to do something like this, to build a car park? And there are just very few options. So, this is a solution should the town want it.
All right. And a lot of people say that the parking garage should probably be off the island because, they don't want people coming on the island and causing more traffic. But specifically about that 108 units that you'll have? 109 units. One of the things that you talked about, Bob, was the traffic, and you're now going to ask for 109 more units. Isn't that going to contribute to the traffic?
Well, you got to pay for it some way, Ed. I mean, all of this works because of those units. So that's just an economic reality that, that's the solution to the problem.
Okay, but it does contribute to the traffic too. When I don't know if you had a chance to read any of the comments from the public, what is your feedback that you're getting on how you think the public feels about that building?
Oh, I think there's a general consensus that it's very large.
Yeah, people are afraid of heights on the island. That's for sure.
I understand, and so that's a chat that will be had with the town planners, and we'll run through that with them. I mean, everything is a compromise. If you want to shrink the building, that can be done, but you got to shrink the workforce housing at the same time, because this is an economic balancing act. And in order to make it work, there's a proportionality to this that we have to keep, in balance.
And I think, Ed, when you talk about height, I think height in designated areas is good for the island. I mean, I agree. Height of an issue that's going to block somebody's view, not acceptable. But height that is, the building across the street for our main building is 10 stories. Yeah. I mean, it's 111 feet tall. So, it's not going to affect blocking in other residents. So I think
the biggest concern I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, is the density that you agreed to transfer, and then now you're asking for all this space here. And then if this LPA and this council does approve that is a giant precedent that has been created on the island, where it seems like people are concerned about what might happen in the future. I mean, so what's your pitch to that, Bob? I mean, that you did sign on to the density transfer so that you can make the building bigger.
Well, Ed, Margaritaville signed on to what they've got approved, and they're coming back asking to have their density that they gave up restored. So, the island has gone through a traumatic upheaval.
I don't think that's 100% true, but but stick to the question, if you would. I don't want to keep picking on you. Keep picking on Margaritaville for some reason, and it's really about the pink shell.
I'm using them as an example. I mean, the sandpiper down the beach, London Bay has that under contract. I don't know what their plans are, but I suspect it's to build a lot more than what's there now.
Right.
So I'm only using these as examples, Ed. I'm not picking on Margaritaville. I'm actually happy to have Margaritaville here. We're going to need them and their marketing muscle to help, bring the island back.
Well, I'm sure they're going to be glad to hear that, because a few years ago, that wasn't the way you felt.
Well, look, the town had a plan, and we don't need to litigate history, but they definitely wandered quite wide away from that plan, but that's exactly the same as what we're talking about here. They made a decision that what they approved was in the best interest of the island, and so it's really the same thing.
Go ahead.
So, I don't know a lot about buildings and zonings and everything, but the density issue was set up in that zone, I would assume, for a reason. Is it because the infrastructure can only handle so much density? Like, what? It was set that way, so why would it change now? Like, am I making sense? No? The density was set for a number of buildings that could go there. It was set for a reason.
I think she's also asking, how's the infrastructure of the island going to handle another 108 or 9 units?
Yeah, I think you could look at the floor area ratio. I think it's been thrown a lot around a bit. With this, these units. I'm not an expert on planning, so our planner it has us at 1.3 as a FAR. So. A lot of the other projects I think are around 1.5. If you take out the ground level, I think it was potentially a conversation that changes that number also.
Gotcha. So anybody have any questions from the audience or on Facebook? Just type them in, and we'll ask Bob and ask Bill. Bob, have you had a chance to talk to any of the current town council members and pitch them the idea? And what is their response so far?
Yeah, we've spoken and met with all of them, and some of the comments are, could you make the roof line more varied? They all recognize that it's this is a big project, but I would say the reception has generally been pretty good, because it solves so many of the problems that they're wrestling with.
What about the LPA? Same question. You have a chance to show them?
I don't think we've talked to the LPA yet, have we, Bill?
No, we just started scheduling meetings with them.
So would you say this council would approve something that you've pitched to them with some modifications at 8 stories?
That's a prediction that I think would be very hard to make. I don't know. I don't know what they would approve. But you got to start somewhere, and now we'll see what people feel they can live with.
Do you think it'll wind up being a presentation of 8 stories, or something less, or something different, or a different looking building?
Well,
what's your next step?
Right now, the proposal's been put to the town staff, so they're reviewing it, and I suspect they'll come back with questions and comments, and we'll see what those are, but we don't have them yet. So we're at the very beginning of this process.
Right. Go ahead.
I guess I'm just wondering, if it goes through, what kind of precedence that sets for other buildings, other developers out there, other folks that are in a similar situation, in comparison to what the comp plan and all of those original things established to do.
Yeah, I just in speaking with our land attorney and our planner, I mean, they felt that we're within the comp plan, and that this is the public benefit in asking for this density goes in line. So,
Right. I think so. It's going to, you're trading the density for the public benefit. Whatever you say the public benefit is, they'll have to buy it. Is the bottom line,
Yeah,
right?
you summed it up well then.
Yeah. And the public benefit is you're providing half a parking garage, 2 stories of a parking garage to the public, and a boardwalk.
And the workforce housing.
Workforce housing.
And
it's a biggie, the workforce housing. And then, I mean, even the fishing pier. I mean, when you look at it,
And the fishing
on
pier.
the north end, where can you fish? Unless you go to the beach, you can't fish off of Bowditch. It's not allowed. So it's giving another place besides the pier to be able to go and fish.
And the
we
sheriff's substation is, I think, important.
Go ahead, Bob. Say that again. You cut off.
The sheriff's substation is a pretty important amenity. So I think these are all things that we picked up from people. These are suggestions that came from lots of different places, and we tried to accommodate as many of them as we could.
So the way the process works now is you're waiting for staff to respond, then you go in front of the LPA in 3 or 4 months, and then whatever, and then you have public meetings, or you're going to have. I mean, Moss Marina they had public meetings at the Pink Shell. I mean, is that what your plan is?
Yeah, we'll have that. Right now, we wanted to get obviously some comments from staff so we can make adjustments to there. In that time, as I said, we're still got to meet with each LPA member, walk them through it, get their comments. As Bob mentioned, that plan, the rendering you saw is early. I mean, that probably will change multiple times. And then it's, as you said, the LPA and then on to council.
Were you surprised at how ugly people said the building looked, or not?
No, I
think it's ugly, Bill?
I think no, I think it reminds me of something like you'd see in West Palm. I mean, I think it's big. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think it does not look like a parking garage. I mean, that was the key that we gave the architect as a directive. We didn't want it to look like a parking garage. So, I mean, I think they accomplished that. But getting that feedback and making those adjustments, I think will happen.
There it is, everybody. All right, and then after the LPA, you get feedback from them, and so what? I mean, let's say it gets approved. What is the time frame for building something like that?
Well, I think once you get through the approval, it's probably somewhere between 6 and 12 months by the time you get through all the public hearings. If it's approved, I think construction on something this would be 18 to 24 months of construction.
Well, yeah, but before you even get to construction, I mean, there's a design effort that has to go into this to figure it all out. I got to believe will take at least a year. So
I just had one other question about this whole, when you guys tried to stop the Margaritaville thing, do you regret that now, seeing the way it might change the community and what you're trying to propose? I mean, there was a hard stance on that from a group of people. Do you regret that?
No, I don't regret it at all, because and in fact, the objection wasn't really to the room count as much as it is to how they're going to handle their parking. They've got parking elevators in their garage, which is how they got the spaces they need, on top of the fact that it wasn't in the comp plan to allow for this much development. So, that said, we'll see what happens when they get open and they're busy and that traffic starts backing up on Estero Boulevard. But, I don't want to predict doom and gloom. I hope it works. But those were the concerns we had, and they remain to this day.
But your proposal's not in the comp plan either. So it's really the same, going down the same road now.
Yep. And
okay.
I'm sure Tom will object to what we're doing. So, that's fair. I mean, but, what's the island going to do? Are we just going to not build anything and hope that we come back with a bunch of, wood cottages? I just don't think that's happening.
All right. Bob, before we let you go, any final thoughts to the folks watching? We have a big audience here and a big audience watching about the development, and anything you want them to know or hear from you.
Yeah, look, you got to start somewhere. So this is the most you could probably put on this piece of dirt. We acknowledge that, and now we go from here, and we'll dial it in to where it makes sense for the town, and that's really our goal. So,
thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it, and good luck.
All righty, thanks, Ed.
All right. Any final thoughts?
No, I just wanted to kind of give everybody kind of a snapshot of what we're seeing in the market from a business standpoint. You can start seeing people pull back on vacations a little bit. So, with how, travel is right now in the stock market and whatnot. So, but I think the positive for Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and Captiva is the fact that you got pent up demand. So hopefully that offsets you can see it, everybody pulling back a little bit. So yeah. I think that, and I think one of the big things that we all need to start thinking about is for the future is insurance costs. I mean, the Pink Shell, our insurance is up 250%. So, I mean, that's only gets passed on from a cost standpoint to guests that are staying at the resort. And we're seeing that, I mean, my own personal home insurance went up 50%. So I think Florida insurance is an issue as a whole. And it's a challenge that we all got to start thinking about.
It's a horrible situation for Fort Myers Beach to be in. It's totally devastated. People want to rebuild. Developers want to build bigger. The residents that live here don't want to see bigger. And developers say they can't make it work at a certain level. And people are afraid of heights on Fort Myers Beach. And how do you rectify all of those different things? You see some view corridors now of the beach that you've never seen before. You got dumbasses driving their trucks onto pieces of property and getting stuck
like
every
Daytona.
single weekend. Like they think they can drive there. And you still have houses that haven't been demolished yet. It's all over the board on the beach. And, people want it to be faster, and you have groups that are getting started because they want the rebuild to be faster. I don't know how much faster it can really be.
Yeah, and I think the message is just being able to work together and figure out the best for this island. I mean, I was mentioning Ed before. I used to run South Seas, and we went through Charlie, and it was a $170 million claim at just South Seas, and it was devastating. This is 10 times worse.
Yeah, and speaking of Charlie, that whole area that Margaritaville's redeveloping was crap for the longest time. I mean, it was crap. It was like it took a lot to put it down. And it took forever. I mean, when was Charlie? In the 60s?
No.
Feels like it every time
2004.
There. I'm just kidding.
The best like is that was Friday the 13th, August 13th, yes. 2004.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Bill? I mean, the posters are here if anybody wants to come up and see the development, and I send you the PDF if you want the PDF. It's got a contact on there. Of course, you want to make sure you go to the meetings, the LPA meetings and the council meetings if you're interested in the development. But any final thoughts, Bill?
No, just thank everybody for their time. Appreciate
All right.
it.
Bill Wachulis, everybody from the Pink Shell.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill, for coming on. And before we get to whatever, you didn't really say much there. You just kept looking at your notes. I want to tell you about Alex King, everybody. Alex King. Supposed to clap for Alex King. From Current Coastal Realty, he's seen everywhere in Fort Myers Beach. He knows about the 50% rule. He knows how to sell your home. He knows how to buy a nice home for you. And, he's a super nice guy because he gives away money, too. His King Foundation gives away a crap load of money. And they're part of the Pub Passport, by the way, which activates today. The Pub Passport activates today. So if you have your Pub Passport with you, you can start using it here and start using it today. Alex King's phone number is 239-849-3663. That's his cell phone, I think. Call him on a cell phone. I want you to call him on a cell phone and order a pizza just to see what happens. Power Block Builders, everybody, one of our great sponsors. They've been here for a long time. Power Block Builders. Here's what you get from them. Hurricane impact windows, elevated concrete columns, tile throughout floors and showers. Because, if you don't have tiles in the showers, you're just going to slip and fall on your ass. Like your mom does. Metal roof, granite countertops, stainless steel. We need to get the granite.
Unless you get a little mat in there like you have so you don't fall on your derriere.
One time she put a mat in there and then she put really slippery stuff on it to make it sound and look like I was going to be sturdy. And then I went right ass over tea kettle.
Well, I have to have, an excuse for the insurance appraiser when they come about, how did he fall? I don't know. I had a mat in there.
Power Block Builders will come to your house and put a mat in your toilet. or in your shower, give them a call. Or I don't have their number, but you can powerblockbuilders.com on the interweb there. And of course, our friend Laura Sanchez, the Vice President of Mortgage Lending. You want to give her a call at Guaranteed Affinity. Affinity, yes. Give Laura Sanchez a call if you need money, if you need financing to buy a house, if you need any kind of money. You need money to buy a new dog. She'll finance your damn dog if you need one. Give Laura Sanchez a call. We love Laura. She's been on the show. She is so funny. 895-0657. 895-0657. So what did you think? Oh, wait.
It was very informative.
Yes. Okay, I know
you want me to
go ahead. You want to talk about the tank top?
So we got the larges in.
Wait,
and
you got to back up a little bit.
Okay.
We ordered the tank tops.
I can't ever say anything.
Well, you got to set the groundwork. We ordered the tank tops.
Are you setting the table, Jim?
I'm setting the table. And they didn't have larges. So I said to our vendor, we have to get larges because people want larges. And she said they had this kind of shirt.
So it's a little different. It's got the racer back, and it's also got, I don't know if you can see, is it this camera?
Yeah.
It's got these little air vents in it. Yeah, there you
So
can
we
see
like
it.
those better than the first one. So we ordered all of those.
I mean, I just think it's everybody's. Some people don't like the racer back.
Yeah,
because you have to wear different undergarments, so to speak, if you wear undergarments.
You mean the brassiere?
I will say people have been asking about getting some men's, some
I know. It's not really pink. It's more purple.
Fuchsia.
Yeah.
No, it's not purple. It's fuchsia raspberry. Yes.
So we'll get a men's.
But I want to remind everybody, they do run a scooch bit small through the chest area. So if you have any concerns, size up, and then you'll be safe.
So we're going to order some men's.
I know that's hard because a lot of people, I mean, I don't, no one likes to be like, I had to get a bigger size. But if you want to be comfortable, I would suggest you size up.
We also have some new coffee cups, but we're not here to talk about the merchandise. So we are going to Wisconsin.
I just wanted to put that information on.
We're going to Wisconsin in 2 weeks. I don't know if anyone here is from Wisconsin. Not yet. They're all back in Wisconsin waiting for us to show up in 2 weeks.
One person.
We're going to be there at Tanner's Grill on the 15th of July for a 2-hour show and a 4-hour. Oh, somebody has
What time is that show?
The show is from 4 to 6. The party is from like 2 to 7. They have a nice pool out in the back, so we're going to be doing the show from the pool in Wisconsin. And we're going to send merchandise up there. We're going to have some great guests, and then we're going to all go skinny dipping in the pool. I didn't know you.
It's Kimberly, Wisconsin.
Kimberly, Wisconsin, right outside Appleton. And and then don't forget everybody, the 4th of July. And by the way, thank you to Snug Harbor. They're our latest sponsor for the Wisconsin show.
Yes,
so we have 3 great sponsors. Yes, you can applaud for Snug Harbor. The final thing is, don't forget about the 4th of July. No fireworks on the beach, everybody. Fireworks on the beach scare the turtles, scare the birds, and it's illegal on top of that. So don't blow off fireworks, or Sheriff Marcino will stick you in the Marcino Motel overnight. Right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to be at La Ola at their stage from 12 o'clock until who knows what time, with D-Rocks, Stephen Clark, and High Tide, the 3 greatest local bands ever. Sorry I said that. I didn't mean to leave anyone out. Bring a case of water to La Ola on Saturday for 820 Buttonwood. And then on the 5th, we're going to be cleaning up the beach at 7 o'clock. Anything you want to say, dear?
I think you should just spend the night down there then.
I would love to be able to spend the night on the beach. We actually had somebody offer us a vacation house for 5 nights.
Wow.
Yeah. As long as we promoted it, but
I'll take that. I'm on break.
Yeah. Next time your mom comes down, hopefully somebody offers that. So,
right.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming, and you have a great 4th of July holiday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.